Hello, hello. It is Faithful Friday. We made it. We made it through another week. Thank God. Okay. So happy to be here. I woke up this morning. I want to talk. You want to talk? Can we talk, please? I was doing some study, and God really showed me some things on a different magnitude that I didn't even realize or recognize. In the story of the fiery furnace, I recognize it on a surface level, but I want to go deeper. Let's read it together. I want to kind of look at something with you on this Faithful Friday that I hope encourages and strengthens your faith even more as it did mine. Let's look at it. I want to actually look at Daniel chapter 3, starting verse 9 to 23. Starting at verse 8, some Chaldeans took this occasion to come forward and maliciously accuse the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. You as king have issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music must fall down and worship the gold statue. Whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. There are some Jews you have appointed to manage the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men have ignored you, the king. They do not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you have set up." Then, in a furious rage, Nebuchadnezzar gave orders to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king. Nebuchadnezzar asked them, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, is it true that you don't serve my gods or worship the gold statue I have set up? Now, if you're ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, drum, and every kind of music, fall down and worship the statue I made. But if you don't worship it, you will immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. And who is this God who can rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, "Nebuchadnezzar, we don't need to give you an answer to this question. If the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he can rescue us from the power of you, the king. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up." That's powerful. Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with rage, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He gave orders to heat the furnace 7 times more than was customary, and he commanded some of the best soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the furnace of blazing fire. So these men, in their trousers, robes, head coverings, and their clothes, were tied up and thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. Since the king's commands was so urgent and the furnace extremely hot, the raging fires killed those men who carried up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the furnace of blazing fire. I'm going to stop reading for this Faithful Friday, but definitely keep reading the story. But I want to point out something that God pointed out to me. It's this verse right here. Verse 17. If this is them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, talking to Nebuchadnezzar, when he challenged them, if the God we serve exists, if the God we serve exists, then he can rescue us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he can rescue us from your power, the king. but is 18. But even if he does not rescue us, we want you as king to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the gold statue you set up. That's so powerful because that's faith. That's what faith is. When life feels unfair, when it feels that our prayers aren't being answered, and it feels that God is so far from us, we have to learn to quiet and shift ourselves from feelings to foundation. Foundation being our faith. They didn't wait for the miracle of being delivered from the fiery furnace for them to have faith. They didn't wait for that. They didn't wait to see what God was going to do to trust him. Their faith was anchored in his character. They knew who he was, who he is. And that's who he is to us too. It wasn't his outcome that made them believe. They said that even if you don't, you are still good. Even if you don't, my life is still in your hands. Even if you don't, you know what is next for me. That is true faith and surrender. And for us, it doesn't mean that life isn't scary, that we're not going to be afraid. That's natural. We're going to feel fear. But what it means is that we trust in the God that we serve. We trust God because of who he is, that he will walk with us through the scary times. He's not going to leave us. It means that we choose to believe God in the midst of the fear. The fire that you're going through isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to purify you. Because sometimes God doesn't calm the storm. Sometimes he calls you in the middle of it. Let's look at how our minds process this. Both fear and faith start from the same point. The unknown. They start from that same place. But fear imagines what could go wrong and what's the worst that could happen. And faith imagines what God can make right in the situation. Psychologically, when we dwell on fear, our body releases cortisol. This is the stress hormones that increases anxiety and tension within our body. That happens naturally. But when we meditate on faith, gratitude, and God's promises, our brain releases dopamine and serotonin. These are chemicals that restore peace and balance. You see how he designed us? Every time we speak faith out loud, we are literally rewiring our brains to trust over tension. Does that make sense? I love that. So here's a declaration. So let's keep this story and this portion of the story stayed in our minds for the day. And I want to declare this over our lives and ourselves. I will not fear the fire, for I know who walks with me. My faith is not in outcomes, but the unshakable love of God. I trust his plan, even when I don't see the path. I'm going to say it again. I will not fear the fire, for I know who walks with me. My faith is not in outcomes, but the unshakable love of God. I trust his plan, even when I don't see the path. I hope that blessed you today. I know it blessed me. I would love to hear your thoughts on that portion of scripture. Did anything jump out to you? Did God say anything or whisper anything to you? Anything like that? I would love to hear that in the comments. If you want to see more of what we're doing at Opulent Overlay when it comes to this particular lesson, please hop over to our SKOOL community under Opulent Overlay or our YouTube channel. There's more that we're doing here with creativity and art and things that can really help us as we walk through this journey. I love you. I hope you have a blessed weekend. Talk to you soon.